All right, so what? Hey, everybody, welcome back to the spin. All right, we the champions. I'm here with my boys, Petey and Cal. Say what's up, Petey. Say what's up, Cal.
Yo,
Ready to rock. Okay, we're talking about the hottest show out there right now on Disney Plus. There's only two words right now. I give you two words: Boba and Fett.
it's not. That's not the name of the show.
What's the name of the
Four
show?
words. Book of Boba Fett.
Four words. Book of Boba Fett. All right, yeah. So four words. I'm off by two.
Boba.
It's Boba.
Not
Boba
Bobo.
Fett.
What did I just say? Boba Fett.
You said
You said
Bobo.
You said Bobo. You've been speaking too much Spanish off camera.
Oh man, that was
I'm not
hard.
even gonna touch that. So, hey guys, this show is off the chain, off the hook, off the hizzy, and we're going to be talking about episode 1 and 2. 1 basically sets the stage for Boba Fett. How we know what happened in the end of Mandalorian, whereby he comes in and knocks off Bib Fortuna, who was the number one guy, the Twi'lek, who was taking over for Boba Fett. Now he's the crime lord, right? He starts off. We see him with his girl. What's her name again? Fennec Shan, I believe it is. And he's running the show now. He's now taking over from Boba Fett. They're calling him the Daimyo. He is now in charge, and now he's going to be walking through. Now,
No, but he's not the daimyo. The dime on the show is my girl.
Ming Nguyen.
No, not even her. Oh my goodness, he needs
he's
a
talking about
big
Jessica
part.
Biel. He's talking about
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Going back to what I was saying. So the show seems to be a lot of flashbacks between one where we have him, what happened to him after he got caught in the Sarlacc pit, and two, how's he moving forward in terms of the in terms of him and the being the new daimyo. That's what they're calling him. So we'll focus on the daimyo part, and then we'll go back to the portion dealing with what happened after the Sarlacc pit. So the daimyo.
Sorry for the daimyo. It's too clear. It's not close to dime at all. Sorry, y'all. I went too far on that one. It's not even close to dime. It's not. Sorry.
Okay, so we can continue on with, we have the fact that he's taking over, like I said, and he's having all these other crime lords in Tatooine. That's the planet that they're on right now. The planet from Luke Skywalker, the planet from Boba Fett. This is where he runs his criminal empire because it's close to space lanes. So he's there, and they're all coming to him, or theoretically, they should all be coming to him to giving him OBSs. And what happens? We have like this great episode where a representative of the mayor comes by. Remember that, Petey? What did you think about that spot? When the representative of the mayor came by, and the mayor, he's waiting for people to give him, show him homage. Some are giving him money, some of them are giving him what do you call those? Wookiee pelts, which are valuable. I mean, which is crazy. Wookiees were being hunted for pelts. They were enslaved, but that's a whole nother story. But coming back to it, what do you think about that?
You talking about in the first episode?
Talking about the first episode, my friend.
Oh man, I was thinking more. What I like the more about can you go into? Because I like more of the stuff with the sand people. Because I like.
You want to get to the ice, so let's just.
No, get to the point of what you were saying though. Because
they had a very interesting thing where he's thinking he's now in charge now that he's knocked off Bib Fortuna, but the mayor comes off and basically his major domo comes and says, basically, we're expecting you to pay us, nosotros. We're expecting you to pay us.
I saw that.
Pay us for protection. And he's like, yo, what the heck? And, Boba Fett is like, nah, that's not rocking. So, he goes down to the city. I think it's Mos Espa, that's the name of the town, and he's trying to impose his rule. That's where we see our girl from Jennifer Beals. I keep calling her Jessica, because you said dime. So
what you're saying? You're trying to push aside Jennifer for Jessica? That ain't happening.
So continuing. Fennec Shan is telling him, like, yo, dude, you got to act like you are a daimyo. You need to be on the litter where people are carrying you so people see who the Lord is, who's the man, who's running the show, what's going on. But he's like, nah, I'm going to walk. I'm going to be like a regular guy in my own 2 feet. Now, this is different from what we've always saw with Boba Fett. Boba Fett was the guy who was quiet, didn't really say anything, but he was a deadly assassin. In the books, he's like, no one can beat him. He comes up with all different stuff. That's why he was #1 assassin. That's why the Empire and Jabba, ended up hiring this guy. Of course, these are legend books, please, people, so don't go looking for them in the current thing. But still, the reputation precedes. And this is where we go back to Filoni as well as our friend. What's the name of the guy again from the director of Iron Man? Happy. You know, he created the whole Mandalorian world, and now they're going.
Oh, John Favreau.
John Favreau.
He goes back and he's delving back into these old stuff that made us really like to read the stories and made us want to watch the show. This is the stuff we want to see. The movies, I don't want to say, but the sequel, but that's what some people were saying. I don't knock it. I was happy.
Some people.
But continuing forward, you know, it's just great that the greediness of the world is well developed. The fact the characters, the motivations behind them, it helps us to see like, wow, there's a lot going on here than we expected. You know, he's not simply walking into Jabba the Hutt's kingdom and taking it all over. People, of course, are going to push back. These are criminals. We expect they're going to say, "Yeah, we're going to take the Lord." You know, and it's also a different aspect where Mandalorian, we have a guy who has a code. He's brought up by Mandalorians, and so you know he never takes this group of Mandalorians. He never takes off his helmet. But here we see, you know, Boba Fett, who technically is not a Mandalorian, though he comes from Mandalorian seed, takes off his helmet. He shows who he is, and he wants to run the show. All right. I think there's a greater thing happening here. So let's move on to the origins. How the hell did he get out of the damn Sarlacc pit? Okay, and here Peter
showed you, right?
We saw. What was your thought on that? Him getting out of the Sarlacc pit, surviving that. Oh, you know, I mean, I'm not going to touch on the fight, but what was your take on that?
I was okay because the thing is like this: when right when George Lucas was doing the other movies, he was like laughing at the comic book people. It's like, these comic book guys, like, I killed Boba Fett, and then they just brought him back. Like, they just brought the character back. Like, he can't come back. He's dead. So we're doing a little, that's why he's saying Attack of the Clones. So we're doing a little something where he showed his contempt, cutting off Jango Fett's head. Like, he showed his contempt for it. Like, I don't know why. The character's there to just be a cool guy in the background, and the comic book guys couldn't let it die, so they brought my character back. So that he wanted dead. So he had that moment, the head rolling into to Boba and that sort of thing. And it's like, why would you do this? Why would you, like, you want to see some cool stuff with him, but got rid of him again. So I was all for it. I mean, there's comic books, this, that, and the other. He's a character that people like. Why wouldn't you utilize him? Like, I always thought they should have done the show with him first, but they showed that the Mandalorian had legs and did some cool stuff with it. So, and this is going to be different. Obviously, they're doing the story where he's weathered. He's someone who's different than the person we met originally, been through everything on, and you can imagine. So he's not that same guy that just had that great voice. He's a person who's going to take off the helmet and stuff like that. So he's not going to be caught up into any sort of thing from the past. He's been through too much. And that's, even though the actor is the actor, you can see the same thing in the Attack of the Clones. Like, he wasn't a character. Jango wasn't a character that was going to be like the helmet on all the time either. Like, the whole Mandalorian sort of thing didn't play out in Attack of the Clones. So, like the thing with Boba is like he kind of went through all this stuff and lost his armor. So he's kind of like trying to find his way. So to me, say all that to say, I had no problem with it. He's a popular character. Bring him back. Do whatever you do, have to do to bring him back.
Yeah, but you also see that the Sarlacc, when it was eating him, the poison was getting through and kind of messing up. You see how he looked all kind of weird.
Like all, and, yep.
The very fact that he killed the Sarlacc is like enough respect. But then the Sand People. I mean, there's one thing that we're seeing right now is that you have the Tusken Raiders. Those guys. It's pretty interesting that this whole story is also showing you his development for them. They capture him and they take him to their camp, to their base camp, and basically, they're using him like I guess they're gonna have him work for them and stuff like that. They've enslaved him, but we still are talking about Boba Fett. He's barely being fed. He's at subsistence level, so he doesn't have his weapons, and yet he's still holding his own. So the very fact of his is pretty wild. But also his age. Look at how old the dude looks. How long was he in that friggin' Sarlacc pit? I'm trying to say. Well,
we don't know how old he was in comparison from Attack of the Clones
to
Empire. Empire Strikes Back. So it's not really that long from for his character. He should be older than the character we saw in. He was a kid in the other one. So who knows? It could be something to what you're saying. Sorry,
I think he was younger.
The kid in that one. I'm not sure how old. What is it? So he would be he'd be older than a good maybe 10 years older than Luke Skywalker or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Maybe,
But I
maybe
think
more
because
than that.
he's a clone, I think that's why he looks so old,
Hmm,
right?
I don't know.
I thought, wouldn't it be the other way around? He's a clone, so that's why he can be so long lived, so he can get away
No,
with this stuff.
the clones were designed to have short lifespans because they put on. So
And
they
that's
didn't.
in the books. That's in the books, man. You can't
It's
go by those books.
no. Look at the animation. If you saw the clone, the clone, the series we saw before on Disney Plus, the clones, they talk about how fast they age. They age fast.
Yeah, that
You
was
know.
that first
Got
generation,
all of
right?
the bits.
And Boba Fett's clone. And what is it? And Boba Fett isn't he? He's not the same exact type of clone as the rest of them, if I
Mhm.
remember correctly from the
He's
film.
not. But I mean, but I think that would help to explain they want to go into it. But that's good there. Um, we also see the connection that he starts having with the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders. Once again, I mean, because we set the Tusken Raiders originally in the first series, where they are fighting people. These are just pests and stuff like that. You know, attacking people. It seemed like no reason. And then we have in the prequel series, we have them being killed off by Anakin when he blamed them for killing his mother. And now you have a different take where it's like someone's coming into their culture trying to, you know, not willingly, but he starts to understand them, their motivations, and they start to respect and kind of work with each other. Of course, I don't want to bring in Book and another canon where they talked about they did bring other outsiders into them, but it's very interesting that this is happening here. I think it's a great way to keep within universe, but also explore other parts of the universe. You know,
Mhm.
yeah, these are characters that have been there forever. You know, that people see in the background all the time, but they don't know. So I think that's an excellent job that once again Filoni and Favreau have done bringing the stuff. And I think Robert Rodriguez, I think, is the showrunner for this series. You know, if you like Desperado, that's it. Spy Kids, I think he was Spy Kids too. So, you know,
Everything. But yeah, I think. Well, what do you think about before we get to the next one? What do you think about the end fight, the big fight, with the guys with the shields and all that? It looked like they were. Of course, it's like I mean, I know this actor wants his face to be seen. Every chance they get, the helmet falls off. So, but what do you think of that fight in the end of the first episode?
no, I think it was pretty great. I think it was pretty well choreographed. I think the very fact that the shields are, I was thinking there's going to be a whole nother crime group that we will end up finding out it's a different group and stuff like that. But the very fact that, you know, it does show that he's not unstoppable, you know, and but I do love the fact that, you know, Fennec is on her own. You know, you see, of course, when she puts on her helmet, oh, that's time to put on the stunt guy to go do his thing.
It's like seeing her. Then
No reason to put on a stunt to put on a stunt. But you also see the Gomorian guards, you know, the big green tusk-like creatures. They come to his aid. Remember, they worked for Jabba. Jabba died. They worked for Bill Fortino. Bill Fortino died, and they were like the two most loyalist guards of all the Gomorians who survived. And yet, you know, they were like, "Yo, we should kill him." I think Fennec said we should kill him, or somebody should say we should kill him. And he's like, "Yo, will you guys be loyal to me now that I'm the daimyo?" And they did. And when he was getting his butt kicked by those guys, he was able to. Those guys did help him out, you know.
Mhm.
So they don't seem to use blasters. I don't think they use blasters. They tend to use the physical weapons, the Gamorreans. But again, they look excellent. You know, I mean, I look at them and their big round bellies and the views you see. You see
I
the
always kind of iffy on them. It was a little too well, Jim Henson for me for like that. But I always thought that Star like when they melded the two, the Jim Henson with the Star Wars stuff, it was kind of iffy for me. But they the thing is they keep touching on a lot of Star Wars stuff that we've seen before. So it's always like the like continuity in comic books, like being able to see stuff that we saw in the past and they play out in this series.
I mean, you have to look. But they are doing a great job, at least with the costumes and how they look. The
Yeah.
Twi'leks look fantastic. The Transdosians, those are guys who look like Slee Slacks. I think we call it. Remember Slee Slacks?
Slee stacks.
Slee Stacks. You know, remember those guys? The Transdosians look like, you know, they look far better than what they did before, but to me, they still look like Slee Slacks. Slee Slacks. Sorry about that.
Stack.
Stack. Okay. But the fight was off the chain. I love the fact that it worked up. But like I said, we also see that he's still the effects either of aging or the effects of what happened to him in the Sarlacc pit. He has to still go into the Bacta tank to get rejuvenated, and that's going to be how we see the flashbacks of what happened to him Tusken Raiders or the Tusken people. I don't know if they call them Raiders.
Are you saying that this tank is like Seven of Nine's chamber, where she gets, but she wouldn't have dreams though.
No, it's a total different thing. This is like, I mean, Star Wars mythology is like, it's a very important tank that if you get a variety of different minerals and chemicals,
Okay,
to
here we go.
better. It fixes your body and stuff like that. We saw Luke Skywalker in it when he got hurt in the first episode. We see, I mean, it's just standard stuff. If we had this now, that'd be fantastic. But, what can you do?
Was the gag in the Chappelle show? They had Negro Damas. We have Mars is our Star Wars Damas. Anything questioned, he's unflappable. He'll have an answer to it, book or movie.
I don't know. A little borderline. Okay.
So episode 2, continuing here. What was your take on episode 2? Do you want to give a breakdown, or do we want to go? We want to start with the
well, did you want to talk about the big end of it? The end, like we had the big fight, but then we have the whole thing of how he gets to not be the guy who's being punished by these sand creatures. He goes out with the littlest one, or with a couple of them, right? No, he ends at the end. They get this weird creature that's almost out of like the old like those Hercules movies where it's like got this monster that they're fighting, and of course we have Boba Fett has to be the one to win it, but when they go back, the spoils go to the sand creature, the smallest sand creature, and they're just like, "Yeah, buddy, you did it." I
think he was saying that what's the name, Boba Fett did it, and I think.
No, he didn't. They were cheering him.
No, they were happy he was there, but he did explain it. And they looked at Boba Fett. The leadership looked at Boba Fett. He survived. And he said, "Look what we got." And I think, but that to me was the only part of the episode I was not crazy about, because I was like,
"Why?
Is this the claymation stuff we used to watch with Sinbad?" And
yeah,
stuff?
Who didn't like that? I love that stuff.
When I was watching Sinbad, I liked it.
Oh, you say you didn't like it.
When I was watching Sinbad, sure, but I'm like, why you got a creature looking this like, this, I think they could have done better. But this is like stylistic issues sometimes where you have the great example is what happened with Cowboy Bebop. They wanted to be a particular style that they wanted in that show and it didn't go over well with the whole audience as well as it possibly could be. But then again, space westerns always difficult. Taking a look at
Star Wars did have the claymation type when they played that chess game. So don't hate. Star
Wars is the ultimate space western, but no one else has been able to be quite as successful as they have doing that.
I'm talking about the claymation when they were playing the chess game.
Not touching that at all.
So. You just slide step. All right, so we're getting into the other one. Good Lord. There need to be more of Jennifer Beals character in this thing. She's in the show that's not going to go anywhere for any while, but she shows up and she shines, right? What else is going on? I know more of the. Can you give the overview? Because I remember more of the sand creature. I retain more of the sand creature stuff than the regular stuff. Hello.
Which part? Okay, yeah. So
because I know there's a big showdown with the what is it? There's still trouble in paradise in him controlling Jabba the Hutt's thing, and then of course we have the thing about what Jon Favreau is. We get to see 2 more Hutts. They just
Jabba's cousins come by.
And who do they got with them? They got a dark Wookiee with them, coming through looking cool as hell. That is crazy.
I think he was I can't even pronounce the guy's name, so I'm not even going to try it. But
Black Chrysanthemum.
There we go. Bang.
I can't even pronounce Chrysanthemum. But yeah,
I mean, you can put a roll on the arc, Chrysanthemum, like you want to, but
Croissant.
Yeah, it's like a bag.
Croissantin. Do say it like that. You get close.
So we're foreshadowing that with this dude, him and Boba's gonna go for it at one point. So Jabba. So he's getting. So before we even get to that, he's coming back, and once again he sees that the mayor is still not. He's like, when they grab the guy who tried to beat him up, the guy to try to attack Boba Fett, they bring him back. Fennec grabs one of them and brings one of them back to him. And he says it's the mayor that hired him and stuff like that. So they go to the mayor, and the mayor is like who again also is voiced by Robert Rodriguez, the director or the showrunner. He basically says, "Yo, he's playing it cool." He's like, he has a translator on the side of his mouth, and he's like a hammerhead type of looking creature. I don't know, I forgot what the name of those guys are. And he's basically saying like,
That was the other cool. That was a very cool having that
that's what I'm
character
trying to say.
be.
The looks of the creatures, they've done a fantastic job. Other than that one sand battle that they had
Oh
the first
my
time.
gosh.
Not
The
touching
one
that.
character's just standing around. This like I get it. We want I know for your Star Wars, you need to be the most impeccable graphics that you possibly can have.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yes, that's what you just said. I don't want to see that crappy claymation, whatever.
I
I don't want to see what's the name. What is that? Oh man, I wish I. Davy and Goliath. I don't want to see my Star Wars having Davy and Goliath's type of claymation in it.
I wonder who did. I wonder who did the animation on there. I think it was what's the name of that guy? The classic guy who did all the stuff like Jason and the Argonauts. All that. Was it Ray Harryhausen?
Yeah.
So the mayor is mock shy. So when he realizes,
Yeah.
I got to go talk to this guy. So he goes to City Hall with the prisoner in tow and basically says, "Yo, bro, I'm trying to say I'm the daimyo. I'm the guy in charge." And the mayor's cool. And one thing I like about how that whole scene worked out, because they're in the mayor's office and stuff like that. He barges in and stuff. Before that, they were like, "Yo, they asked him, do you have an appointment?" He's like, "Oh, like an appointment. What's your name, Boba?" I don't see Boba Fett on
Yeah,
the
going a little far with that.
everybody knows who the new bad boy is, and so he just busts in there. And of course, the mayor has his guys around there, and Fennec is there, and he's ready to fight it out. But the mayor's like, "Hey, so you brought, this guy told you the one who's out for me." And he's like, "Well, I think it's a much more complicated situation than you seem." The mayor's not exactly telling him, but he says, "Since you brought in this bounty, since you brought in these guys who it's illegal for them to be here outside of Hut Space, Jabba Hut Space, well not Jabba Hut Space, I'm gonna pay you a bounty." So that's how he pays. He gets around paying Jabba. I mean, paying what's his name, the his homage. I'm gonna give you your money. I'm just not gonna call it that. And so, because what's really happening is that the twins, Jabba's cousins, are coming to take over, and I think that's where he tries to guide him. He goes and says, "Hey, go back to Jennifer Beals' character. What does she call? I think Garza Flip. Garza Flip. She's a Twilight, and she's like, "Oh, you guys are back again." It's like, "Yeah," and she's like, "Oh, didn't you guys know?" And they go outside, and that's when they see the twins, Jabba's cousins, who basically are coming in. Now, here's something interesting. From what I recall, I don't think you can kill a Jawa. I mean, I don't think you can kill a Hut without getting like some type of permission or the Huts, okaying it, because even though they're a fractious clan and they always fighting one another, they don't take kindly to other people killing their own. I'm trying to say. So,
well, like Princess Leia killing the Hut.
She ended up running the government. The whole, the rebels won the election. So what are you gonna do?
The whole thing. You always got an answer. I told you, Star Wars Dominus. He got it.
but when you just become the new crime lord, yeah, your head can still be on that noose. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's on a chopping block. So
is this from the films, or is this from the expanded universe of the books? What you're talking about?
They don't really talk about it in the film, but they do touch it in other media. So what I'm going to say though is that the twins go out there. They're basically a pissing contest where he's like, "Yo, we take it over because we have this, whatever contract or will of Jabba's or whatever." And he's like, "I don't care. I'm in charge now. I'm running the show." And the twins, they know the deal. They walk it back. And I thought that was so cool. The way they made the twins look, those gigantic huts. You saw them, they had the tails going back. And they're not as big as Jabba. Jabba is huge. And, you see those guys holding up the litter and they're straining like, oh my gosh, off the ground. You're like, but I thought they were going to make it like a hovercraft or something like that. Because I kind of remember Jabba being on something like that. But no, they made them like people straining to hold these guys up. And that's just, to me, nuts, which I thought was an added flavor. That I said, yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. They remember that. But I mean, that really was the conclusion to that, where they basically now we getting to see, before we thought the big bads were going to be those people fighting the mayor was going to be, because the mayor wasn't showing him proper homage at the beginning, and some of the other crime lords. And we do see a feature in the trailer that he's talking to a bunch of crime lords and around there. But the very fact that now we see Huts being involved, this is going to be a bigger to do. They're coming from their planet. I think it was Nala Hut to come there. I think it's going to be a bigger deal. Now, so let's go into the whole issue with the Tusken Raiders. So once again, he is back.
Well, you hear what you just said, Raiders, right?
I keep calling them Raiders the Tuskens. I know, it's just I'm stuck to the original. That's what they called them before.
But that's a good point to bring up. They're similar like that. Should this story have just been a great train robbery instead of the train that goes by and terrorizes our town? So we'll come take out the train, then steal everything from the train. It's a train robbery. They should have just been stealing the train stuff off the train.
Get it from the different perspectives. So the people in the train are just going through their land and just interrupting what are there. And so the Tuskens are saying, hey, you can't just come through our land like that, you know? And so you have this issue where the same thing, you know, settlers are going through the West. The analogy is settlers are going through the West, going through Native American lands.
They're like, you running through my land with that train, I'm going to steal everything off of that train, right?
Well, in the end, it's not stealing, because they're saying basically you're paying homage. So for you to take your trains through here, you got to pay. And in paying this, you're going to pay in water and stuff. So from now on, you're going to make a deal. So we're getting like this whole, you know, and it was an analogy that's been bandied about by other places, but it was very obvious when you saw it, like a whole Lawrence of Arabia, where he raises the Tusken Raiders, and he beats up this biker gang, takes over their bikes, and he brings it back to them to say, hey, let's use this to stop this train, because the train goes through and they're shooting at the Tuskens, killing the Tuskens, but there's tons of them. So he's like, what if I get a couple of this biker gang that we see in the very first episode who rob a moisture farmer? He goes, kicks their butts, like 5 of them, and takes over their bikes, and he brings it to the Tusken Raiders. Now,
I'm gonna pause you right there. This is you ever watch one of those things where someone comes and beats someone up at the bar, and you see the bartender pull out the gun? Usually in those fights, the bartender pulls out. This one, the bartender is just kind of like doing this thing. The reason why the bartender pulls out the gun is that these guys that are getting beat up are his patrons. So they have to sign up and do something. This one, they're trying to be like, oh, these guys are nice guys. So we,
No, I think the opposite is like, I see this all happen so often. So it happens so often. So I say, so he was like, this is another thing. They're coming in here bothering people, wrecking up the place. I'm not going to put my life in line.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that this aspects of them trying to do stuff to be nice, which I don't know that they need to. They could do a great train robbery and just be like, hey, they just got this train running through there, and I don't know. I like my sand creatures as bad guys, and then we're trying to make them sand creatures into like seeing the other side to them. But at the same time, I like them because I like having the aliens where you don't understand what they're saying, and you have the pantomime to understand what's going on. That I think is cool, like the language barrier. So you're kind of in there with the people, but you can look from where they're reacting to understand it. So they made them a little too nice, but at the same time, it's still fun. That's why I say when you have a biker thing, yes, they can be terror, but they're your patrons. That's why you always see the bartender go out from like that, because those are his people. So they had like, what happens when they get beat up and then they come back like, you let them steal my bike too? You did that? And they're like, we're not coming here no more. They're like, wait.
They haven't done anything. These are the bullies. The bullies are the ones making the issue, right? So,
but they're the patrons.
Yeah, still.
That's why the person pulls out a gun and says, "Not in my bar. Not in my bar."
Stop it. So continue.
He just came in and he didn't know anything was going on bad. He just came in like, I'm just stealing these guys.
We digress.
They set it up so you can see them beating up somebody. So then there's a good reason for them to take their bikes. The punishment fit the crime. No.
Yes. So we digress. So what happens is that he teaches them how. When he brings the bikes back to the Tuskens, they start ripping it apart. He's like, nah, you got to use it. And this is a great analogy because you have when the Spaniards first came to the New World, they started leaving like pigs and horses around so that they can, when they came back, they can use these animals, for sustenance or for travel. And the Native Americans basically, yo, let me try this, and they started becoming excellent horsemen because there weren't horses native to the Americas. And so when they brought these horses, so you have the same thing where you're teaching someone else, hey, we're going to use these bikes, these motorbikes. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see in later issues, because he's basically introducing a level of technology of mobility to the group that they can do. Because they use those giant, like, I don't know what they're called, the elephant-like, hairy elephant-like things on Tatooine.
Mm-hmm.
Creatures.
Those things can't hide. They were getting hit
And they're slow as hell.
It's like,
but now you get them enough bikes, they're gonna be running the show like.
They said they have someone. They got to keep stealing. They don't know how to make no bikes.
You can fix a bike as time goes on. So if you learn, you get a bike, you're gonna learn. Yo, this is good fluid motor transportation. I'm gonna have to learn how to do this. So, and then you have the Jawas. Jawas come on with all kinds of tinkering stuff, so you can buy from them. Going on though is that what's interesting about the train? There's a great train fight because they're trying to stop the train.
Great train. You had a fumble right there. It's supposed to be a great train robbery. And they turned into the Great Train, stop the train from killing us. There's no movie title for this. So why would the train coming through my neighborhood, causing all this noise and shooting and stealing, this, that, and the other? They should just be robbing the train and say, hey, this is our land. That's all that mattered. We tax you.
Yeah, exactly. So you have Lawrence Arabia, you have that scene where the guys are all hiding behind the crest of the hill or the backside of the hill, and then they start attacking the Ottomans in the train, and then they lead the attack. I mean, of course, they don't have that huge sign, but you also have something like that in Dune. And there's a lot of analogies with Dune here, which I don't necessarily think is correct, but everybody always say that since Dune came out as a book way before Star Wars, that they're and of course it influences. But I just because the property just came out recently, they keep talking about it. Like, and it's really apples and oranges, if you ask me.
Does Dune have a Western like a Great Train Robbery in it? Does it have a Great Train Robbery?
No, but they do hijack stuff. Yeah, like a Great Train Robbery. They do have it.
So then Dune is they all draw, well, I don't know. I guess, ultimately it's weird because some of that
they shut down production of this spice. And so here you're basically, it's funny, they do have a spice in this too, where they that they use that the people who are there, and that's another thing too, another character group of people called the Pikes. And that's a whole criminal syndicate. They look like the fish looking guys. They're called the Pikes. And they also have a criminal syndicate that they use. And that's what they're doing. They're moving drugs across Tatooine. So he's like, yo, you're gonna be here, you're gonna have to pay for all this stuff, if you want to use their sand. So
I'm having, there's two things. Going back to one, I'm having an issue with the lizard people there.
Transoceans.
It reminds me too much of like the Gorn from Star Trek, or that doesn't look like V, but I guess the Gorn would be the best description of it. Remember when Captain Kirk was fighting the Gorn, and it was real slow with the throwing the rocks and all that stuff? It's a little too close for me. What was the other thing? Oh, the other thing is when you get high off a get-go in this episode, you saw that? He sniffed the get-go and he went on a guide, like where they say a trip, like the ultimate trip.
I wasn't talking about that.
And he got the tree. He got Did you bring back the tree?
Those are Dune references, and the tree when he brought back the tree, I don't know where he found the tree in the desert, but he found the tree and he made that into his weapon, the traditional weapon of the Tusken Raiders and stuff like that.
So you sniff the get-go, you go on this trip, and then you come back with your weapon.
Yes, I guess
you see him making that from there, but he went on a trip that is like pretty far. But ultimately,
that's after he was able to stop the Pikes in their train, and then started getting paid.
They stole like everything off the train. They took everything.
That is the tribute that they're getting. The Pikes are selling illegal drugs. They're not paying. So if they stop any illegal guys, and those guys have to pay their way. So I mean, it's interesting because what I'm starting to think, we're seeing that his view on the world has changed. As a bounty hunter, he's doing contract jobs 1 for 1, and now we see him as a daimyo of Tatooine, basically running that stuff. but you see that we're seeing the backstory that he's using the Sand People or the Tuscans as, he's taking over a lot of the desert, the desert ways, so he's more powerful than we see, if he wants. I'm assuming as time goes on, probably the Tuscans maybe again they want to give this Dune reference, and I don't really want to do it, but they're saying, and I can see the reference that they're looking more like the Freemen in Dune. I don't necessarily believe it. I would hope that their stuff is a little bit different, but he's using these. I think he's going to end up using these either as the people to help him, take over or control stuff.
So, lastly, what I've gone on about, and with too long, course, is the ageless flash dance dancer actress Jennifer Beal,
also called Madame Whip. That's what they're calling her, Madame Garza Whip.
I think that should be
Twilight,
right.
And her bosh is called the Sanctuary, where she allows people to come through. We haven't seen any problems on either side, but I assume that's going to be a place where people can meet. Also, could be the place where, she may end up being it could be she may be the love interest of him during the year.
Look at these look at these tweets. That's how I was. When I looked at the thing, the thumbnail for the next episode, I'm like, is that Jennifer Beal? Like, the brothers are just like quick. They know her right away.
Yes, they do know her. And she's a very small. Very
She
small.
should get some more play on this thing. She's been good in all the stuff she's done. She just hasn't been a show that lasts for that long.
I mean, but she's been in a lot of things, so you're right. So I don't think that. I mean, she's been employed. I'm taking a look at her wiki page, and she has mad stuff on. She's constantly working. She's constantly working. So that's exactly what you need. That's what she's been doing for years. So I don't think there's going to be a problem.
The thing of having something that's like, that lasts, that's the hard part in any sort of in Hollywood. I think I was talking with some friends who was kind of saying why doesn't this person? And once you see it, like, it's no matter how successful you are, it turns into, hey, we have Vagrant #5. We want you in our movie.
Well, I mean, you keep bringing up Jennifer Beals from Flashdance, so I mean, you're locking her into a role she did what?
Who cares? I'm bringing it up so you're short.
1983.
I can go to the L Word. Did you watch that? You're gonna say I can't talk about the L Word?
We didn't watch the L Word.
Huh?
No, we did not watch the L Word.
I said the first season. My father bought the DVD. Hadn't seen the show, and we watched the whole thing in one sitting. One sitting.
More power to him.
Anyway, I guess that's it, right?
Yes.
Why you get so bothered? The things that I like, I'm
not bothered.
I'm saying maybe we can switch Ming and and she has a partner with the person who runs the club. Like, let's see more of that. Sorry, I'm gonna apologize. I'm sorry, Ming. You're my girl. You're always my girl. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So
why do you do that? Why did you do that?
I don't know what you're talking about. Who's Ming?
Yeah.
Ming the Merciless?
Oh God.
Flash Gordon.
Ming Na Wen.
Oh, Ming Na Wen. Okay, got it.
Golly. Don't know if you watch the show, if you watch anything with her in it, Lord.
It's always good. She's always great. Feng Shan is fantastic in the show. And the actress who plays her is great. She's still, if you watched
now you're trying to make up for not knowing who the character was, acting like I'm
crazy. Shield.
Act like I'm crazy.
We were talking about Bill, you kind of threw me off there. Sorry, I didn't change.
I said switch the characters from Ming to the character to Jessica Biel, and I said
I was so stuck on that other word.
It was simple.
I thought you were talking about the other thing. Just make sure you cut all this madness out.
I'm not cutting anything out.
So listen, if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, Spinnerack.
Out.
I know, out.
I said out.
We said out.
I did on purpose.